9100.
Wow, what a fantastic start to this afternoon's presentation, ladies and gentlemen. A very warm welcome here to join us here at Shimano. I'm Anthony McCrossan. I'm going to be your host for the next hour or so as we get ready to launch and to say a very warm welcome to all of you. Shimano proudly presents to you the new Dura-Ace R9100 group set. This is system supremacy and the ultimate in system engineering. This system started with the concept of optimizing input to maximize output. We're very proud to finally present it to you here this afternoon. Each component within this amazing group set is designed to magnify the qualities of all the other components within the group set, and it's called feedback to make sure that we can produce the very best group set that we are going to present to you this afternoon. Of Dura-Ace, about what happened and when everything was revealed. First of all, everything began way back in 1973. There might be some of you who are sat in the audience who remember 1973 and the first Dura-Ace group set being built. It was Shimano's first road component group set focused on professional racing. We then moved on. In 1985, Shimano introduced Dura-Ace with Shimano Index system. It was again 6-speed and it evolved onto 7 and 8-speed as well. New generation mechanical platform, we were able to introduce the first electronic group set dedicated totally for racing. So we stand very proudly here this afternoon to bring you much more detail, much more information about this stunning new group set that we are launching today. So
I would like to run you through the technical background of each individual part of this great new group set that we are able to launch today. Here you can see the design, the inspiration of the design you could see in the small movie that we just showed you. But system supremacy, the peak of system engineering. What does it mean for us? How did we achieve that? For this, I show you this concept first. The concept was indeed, as Anthony already mentioned, we improved each component to minimize every single loss and optimize the input to maximize the output. So reduce any potential loss in your cycling, because that is what ultimately brings you faster a rider from point A to point B. And that's what helps you win races or enjoy cycling much more. How do we do that? By creating stronger bonds between the individual products and greater synergy between our systems and maximize the performance of the potential which is in the bike. For this, I start off with the platform of the bicycle we call the drivetrain. The drivetrain is the basis of every group set. Later on we'll talk about shift and brake systems, but you can have the best brake or the best shifting possible, but it's all based on the drivetrain, the heart of the bike. For this, we start off with the crankset. The new crankset, as you can see here, take the engineering direction that we launched at the previous generation with the asymmetric forearm, but we went a step further. We analyzed the power transfer from the crank arms to the bike, and you can see the distinctive asymmetrical shape here. With this, we were able to keep the same level of stiffness as the crank currently has, but reduce the weight even more. Then, because we will see, and I will talk about that later during the presentation when we come to brake system, we will also want to be ready for disc brakes. And that's a big challenge in particular, because if you want to have a disc brake bike with a race-ready geometry, it's essential to keep your rear chainstay down as much as possible. And this was not possible with the existing group sets to reach the level of racing geometry people need. So we re-engineered the chain rings so you can reach a chainstay length without any sacrifice of shifting performance of 410 millimeter, so a race-ready bike. We are deeply involved into our bike fitting technology, where we learned a lot about how to measure the forces that a rider puts on a bike. And I look at Fred here, that will elaborate more on that later, I hope, to support that story. And the integration into the place where it should be in the center of the drivetrain, the crankset. Is this small control unit here that has an LED that shows you if the battery, the integrated rechargeable battery, is powered, if the system is on, you can calibrate it, and there's a magnetic charging port right there. That's it, what you can see from the outside. The rest all works on the inside. The information that is brought forward by the system will be transmitted to a third-party device, such as a Garmin head unit, for example, or any other receiving device through ANT profile. The reason why we put Bluetooth on there is because we will bring a completely new platform of eTube software that is run on Bluetooth, low energy, to control every aspect on the bike, even the power meter. The next essential part of the drivetrain is the cassette. We didn't change so much technology-wise, but what you can see here is that we will add now for the first time in Dura-Ace level an 1130 cassette. And what I will show later on with the rear derailleur, the thing is that we will only have one specification of rear derailleur that can capture all the way from 23 to 30 in one setup. So no more if you have the extreme stages that many of you see these days, where teams are changing to Ultegra rear derailleurs with a long cage in order to run a 30 or plus cassette on it, is no more needed. This is done because we see that cycling evolved and goes to more extreme places and gives a better choice of riders for different geographical areas. To get the energy from the chain to the ground, you have the wheels. The wheels are also an essential part of the bike if you talk about system engineering. We will bring two new platforms of road wheels, one on a 40mm rim height and one on a 60mm rim height. Both are the same width. So it's easier for teams to exchange wheels depending on the circumstances and choose the best weapon for each race. And what you can see here is the C40 and the C60 in a tubular version. But beside the tubular version, I will show the other versions later. I would like to show you what we think about weight of energy saving. Here you can see a chart. The 16 watt is not just the aerodynamic saving, because I hear a lot of feedback out of the market. We have the lightest wheels, or we have the most aerodynamic wheels. That's all nice. But what essentially brings you faster from A to B is the total sum in a dynamic condition and not in a static condition. So what we did, we used all the different dynamic parameters, like a sprint on a flat road with a crosswind on a 25C tire, to see, okay, what do we win in aerodynamics compared to our own wheel we had before. That was in the middle of the field. But also the stiffness, the weight, the momentum. So all these weights of energy savings and losses, we add up together, and the total sum of that of our new C60 tubular wheel compared to the existing C50 tubular wheel came up to 16 watt. So that essentially brings you faster from A to B. Talk about the actual product, the C60 platform. We will bring, of course, in a tubular for the races, but we will also bring a full carbon clincher style tubeless for disc brake, and we will match the existing carbon laminated for rim brake version into this program. Besides the C60, we do the same thing on the C40 level. Again, the C40, you can see here a wider platform. It will become available for disc brake in a full carbon tubeless clincher version. And as we can see now, the change to on-road disc brakes ready for the new standard, which is the 12mm E-through front and rear. So these wheels will have that as well. Just an addition is the workhorse that we have, the training wheel. We will stay in the line, but then with new appearance, the C24 clincher, because we need it to complete the range. That leads me to the shifting interface. As said, a shifting interface can only be as good as the mechanical platform that's underneath supporting this shifting interface, and that is system engineering to make it work together in the best way. So I start off with the Di2 interface, the electronic shifting interface. For this, the first challenge was our benchmark STI, the one most of the teams are using, is the Dura-Ace Di2 one. As we come up with hydraulic disc brakes, the challenge was how to make that STI for the hydraulic disc brake matching exactly the same shape as far as we could, building in a reservoir as the mechanical braking system in order to have racers change from bike to bike without getting adapted to the feel of the STI and the position they have on the bike. And with the layover sheet that I show here, you see we more or less made it to have exactly the same volume and same position for the rider if he decides to change or to ride both bikes during the season. Further improvements that we made on the actual STI was that we extended this main button a little bit so it's easier to reach it from any position, whether you're down in the drops or on top of the hoods. We did manage to bring in a better click feeling, a stronger distinctive click to give the rider the feedback that he is shifting his gear. And what is also new is that the button that was already previously on top of the hood here will now also come to the hydraulic version, and it's fully programmable for someone if he would like, instead of standard shifting to the screens of a third-party device, he could also reprogram it with our new eTube app to do shifting, for example. So you could shift actually from that position if you would want to. So a lot of customization is also possible with this new technology. Point of aerodynamics, we completely re-engineered our time trial setup for the cockpit. Here you can see the ST for a time trial cockpit and the shifters for the end of the bar end, and you can see it's just an insert, it's a plug with only one button. Also, the frontal area of this shifter has been reduced to a minimum with only one button. Why? Aerodynamic drag. So reduce the frontal area as much as possible, no cables, no nothing, everything internal. So it's a really sleek and small design. But we had one challenge: how to control front and rear shifting. You have to have many buttons on the bike so a rider is able to control his shifting from any position. So what we did is we used the technology that we introduced in mountain biking called synchronized shifting to this type of riding as an option. What does it mean? It means that by our eTube app you're able to make a complete mapping of how you want your derailleurs to shift. So it means that if you shift up or down, you go through the whole range of the bike's gear range. Front shifting will happen automatically on the point where you program it to happen. If you want to run all through the cassette and then it shifts in the front, then the next shift is a front shift. It compensates in the rear automatically 1 or 2 gears, so you can seamlessly go to the entire range of your bicycle's gears without any shifting shock. This is something specifically for time trial, we feel. If somebody's not confident with it, of course, with our E-Tube setup, it's easy to plug and play and add another shifter at any place you want to overrule the front shifting. But we will see that as soon as you get used to it, same as with mountain biking, it's a great feature. Semi-synchronized shift is another thing. It's more a general option that we have also for normal road racing. What does it mean? It means that normally when you shift in the front, in order to compensate for the cadence drop, you will shift 1 or 2 gears in the rear. This is what the system now can do automatically for you. So if you shift in the front, the rear compensates by a pre-programmed mapping 1 or 2 gears in the next direction. So again, it's all to give the riders the most seamless transition to the bike and avoid loss of energy due to the cadence drop. Seen here, the distinctive features from the rear derailleur are, here you can see it's a direct mount profile, so it's a shadow RD. For those of you who've worked with mountain bike components know what a shadow RD means. It means that the whole unit is positioned underneath the actual dropout. So the whole mechanism is hidden under the cassette. This is a great feature for road racing. For example, if your bike drops or a rider comes too close with his front wheel, you are much more protected by this system. The derailleur itself lends itself really well with this one size of cage to cover all the way from 23 to 30, so you don't have to change the rear derailleur cage for different stages. And optionally, you can have frames. You will see frames in the future that have a direct mount option. Means that the dropout of the frame will replace this part and you mount it directly to this bolt. What does that give for a benefit? A stronger, more rigid dropout and a connection to the frame, so less sensitive for misalignment. And secondly, it opens up this entire area for through axles in the future because they drop out vertically. And with the bigger tires that we see and the more compact frames, sometimes it's a hassle to get the wheels out because you can't get them forward enough to reach enough clearance. So having this area open with future through axle systems allows you to easily replace a wheel. Front derailleur improved, basically same technology as we have, some stronger torque, some smaller dimensions to make it even more interesting, but following the same technology. I mentioned already the E-Tube app. What do we have? We have a small wireless dongle. It's an inline connector with a female-female port that can be positioned on any E-Tube cable, and it allows a wireless connectivity by ANT private to third-party devices, like a screen, but also through Bluetooth, low energy, to a tablet or a smartphone. This allows the rider or the mechanic to do settings on the bike or close to the bike instead of having to attach it to a PC in the workshop. And change all the settings, read out the power meter, update firmware, do your mapping for your single shift. So everything is possible. This is our new platform to control our electronic world. Besides allowing through our PC interface, but that's mainly for OEM manufacturers or dealers to connect directly with a PC. By tablet you can do pretty much all the same functions. By smartphone you're a bit more limited because things like error check you don't do on a smartphone. It's more for settings only in the field. And as said already, by our ANT private connectivity we allow shifting data, battery data to be transmitted to a display. Of aerodynamics is to clean up the cockpit. Many people complain to us that the junction that we have for Di2, the mandatory junction, is a hassle because it's in the way, it's ugly, a lot of wires, and we don't want it there. So we re-engineered our junction to this semi-internal style. One face of it needs to be to the outside because you need the button to adjust, and you need the charging port here to charge your internal battery and the control LEDs, but it's only one face of the actual unit that needs to be exposed to the outside. This allows people to put it, for example, in the end of the handlebar, or if frames are adapted by a hole like this, directly into the frame. And it gives a very clean solution. To show you more or less how it looks, our own house brand for Accessories Pro, we already pre-developed some examples to accommodate the cables and this new junction, and show how it can be done, and to clean up the cockpit. So here you see how it will actually fit into the handlebar end. But in order to reach the STI and then go towards the rest of the bike, you will need a hole inside the handlebar, as can be seen here, and then you can choose to go to the STI and go externally, follow a brake cable for example, and then you only have one cable left going from the cockpit to the bike. Or you can choose, and you can see that from the next two pictures, the hole on the inside and go directly into the stem. So if the stem accommodates it, you could even eliminate the cable completely by going directly into the stem and into the frame. With our Brand Pro, we introduced two levels of Vibe handlebars to accommodate these new junctions on a carbon and an aluminum level. Here is the carbon handlebar, and you see that it's aerodynamically shaped. We have examples on the bikes in our showroom. The mechanical shifting interface, also big improvements there to keep up with the Dura-Ace promise. We were also able to make a mechanical shifter STI smaller, so closer to the Di2 version, to make it more controllable for a rider, and also add one with a mechanical mechanism and a hydraulic reservoir that gets as close as possible. We weren't able to make the volume, of course, of the Di2 one, but it becomes very close also for a good controllable STI. The lever stroke has become shorter, so you have a more direct feel of changing your gears, and a lighter shifting operation was achieved. The rear derailleurs and the front derailleurs, you can see as well, following the same technology as on the Di2 side. You will see the direct mount hanger, and also this is a shadow type, so it is positioned underneath the bike itself. One specification to cover all the cassettes, and we completely re-engineered the front derailleur. In the previous generation, we, if you may remember, we did also re-engineer the front derailleur and with a very long arm to make it much smoother and much more controllable. But with the change of wider tires, shorter chainstays, in some cases this was conflicting with the bike frames. So we challenged our engineers to make this one better and less troublesome for different applications and very aerodynamic and complex frames. They came up with a new mechanism, which is a toggle mechanism, so it's an internal mechanism. It's very compact, it's very small, and it works just as smooth as the long arm type. So it gives you much more clearance, it's compact, and it's less sensitive. On top of that, we know that a front derailleur is also a hassle, because you have to have a barrel adjuster normally somewhere in the front of the cockpit, either inline or a stopper on the frame, and mostly these are troublesome. Then that's why it is the position where you don't want to have that. So this new front derailleur will have, and you see here, a small Allen bolt right in on the product itself. This is replacing the barrel adjuster. So you can run straight outer casing all the way from the STI if you want, to a stopper on the back side, or run from the bottom bracket area an open cable directly into the system. No need for a barrel adjuster anymore. You can adjust it directly on the front derailleur. Brake systems, also already we will add disc brakes, race-ready disc brakes to our brake options. But here you can see our proposal for this. Completely new rotor that was established after long testing with better heat dissipation, because in generally the issue for on-road hydraulic disc disc brake is not so much extra power like what you have on a mountain bike, but the controllability. So how constant the brake feel is depending on how long you ride it or what temperature it reaches. So the alloy core, the sandwich construction, now extends all the way to the spider of the actual rotor. This allows more heat to dissipate directly to the air instead of going into the brake system. Furthermore, by using our new flat mount platform, which already a lot of bikes follow, you can see small calipers that are easy to adjust, easy to access, that are very cleanly put away in the triangle of the rear frame and on the front as well. But we didn't give up on developing rim brakes neither. Here you can see our new improved rim brake. You can see that it's more integrated, more sleek design, more aerodynamic. But the biggest change is that we made it compatible for 28C tires. So in case you have bikes using for more versatile surface use, or for example a Roubaix bike, you can still choose to use these brakes because they are compatible with 28C tires. Of course, when you make a bigger diameter over the actual tire and the wheel, it gets either heavier or it gets softer. We were able to control this point by adding a small kind of brake booster in between the two pivot points and increase the stiffness of the feel by 43%. So I really invite you to check our test bikes, because we have a mechanical test bike available to ride it, to feel it, and feel the controllable feel of these new brakes. And of course, more and more high-end, especially high-end frames, are following the direct mount principle to even be more integrated directly to the frame. And also for this solution, we come up with new sets of brakes for each different type that we already have. Final product from the new group set that I want to share with you is a new pedal. Following SPDSL like we have, but we made it lighter. We shaved off from the body some more grams to make it lighter, but still keeping the same extra wide platform and efficient power transfer and durability as you are used to from this pedal. So to summarize the facts that I've shared with you today, the highlights of this new group set that supports system supremacy are the new drivetrain with power meter, new rider-tuned gear selections, like for example the new cassettes, wider ranges, new wheel platforms, aerodynamic, efficient, lightweight, brake systems for all different ranges of usage from disc brake to direct mount, shifting options in Di2. We bring hydraulic levers, direct mount, shadow, synchronized shifting, and even for the mechanical shifting interface, completely new front derailleur and also direct mount low profile rear derailleurs. So this summarizes for me the peak of system engineering that we are proudly presenting today. Here you can see how a group in a very advanced configuration, so with disc brakes and Di2, could look like. And to give you a feel how a more classic setup would look like, this is more a mechanical setup with a clincher brake. Both following the DNA and the feel and the promise of new Dura-Ace. That's the end of my part. And
extremely hard, and the feedback from the professional teams, of course, has been absolutely critical in bringing this group set to the market. As far as Shimano is concerned, technology is a real passion of Shimano. Dura-Ace is the outcome of everything they have done to create the most supreme system on the market that we now see. Give us a little bit more insight as to how they work with Shimano. So please welcome four guests up here onto the stage now to join us for this next session. Our representatives from Shimano, from Team Sky, from Team Lotto NL Jumbo, and from FDJ. So we welcome Henny Stamschneider, Carsten Jeppesen, Matthew Heiboer and Fred Grapper to the stage. They are lined up. Some of the photos.
I think from all the group sets what we have seen, I think the last 22 years that I've been with Shimano, we have been working very closely with our teams to get feedback from how they see and what's important for them to have that perfect group set available. So it's always they are asking a lot, so they always challenge our engineers to come with something new, with the best, whatever. Sometimes it's really hard to fulfill those wishes. Sometimes we have endless discussions why it cannot be, but in the end, generally they really challenge us, and they bring it to the level where it's now again.
Fantastic. Fantastic that you work so closely. That's what I've been learning over the last 24 hours about how closely Shimano do work with the teams. Carsten, Henny says you pushed him. You pushed Shimano pretty hard. What are your thoughts on what you've seen this afternoon as far as this group set's concerned?
When can we have them?
I knew that was going to be the first question. But are you excited about what you see?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, yeah, as we've seen, our set has been quite close. They have taken basically at least most of what I've asked for into account, and yeah, really look forward to test it out.
And Matthew, what's your thoughts on what you've seen this afternoon?
Really excited, of course, and start rather today than tomorrow with it. But yeah, I'm looking really forward to use it and to feel it.
Carsten, when you've now worked through Team Sky with Shimano, and particularly with Pro as well in the last 7 years. So how's your relationship developed over that time, and where do you want this to go over the course of the next years?
Oh, I think we work really close, and Shimano has really strong support at all the races. So they have the engineers from Japan is coming over on a quite regular basis, and just that building a relationship with the people creating the equipment we're using every day is really crucial. And I think that's getting stronger all the time. As you say, we've years, and yeah, they are part of the Team Sky family, I would say. All our mechanics know them by first name. Herada, every time he's over, you know,
yeah.
they joke with and about him. So yeah, no, it's really strong. I think every year they come up with new things. We get a newsletter now. Every time there's something new. So instead of it has to go through me to our mechanics, it goes directly to all the mechanics from Bert. Normally sends it out. I think, yeah, really good.
Matthew, I hadn't realised until we were sat in preparation for this afternoon that the relationship with the pro teams and Shimano is very close, in that Carsten just touched on that Shimano have people here on the ground at the major World Tour races. For you as a team, how important is that? Because I guess there are issues. We've got the Tour de France starting on Saturday. You hope there aren't issues, but when there are, how critical is it for you?
Well, it's really critical, because in the major races there's always time constraint. You know, if there's an issue, we want it rather solved in an hour than in 2 hours, and it's really good that Shimano is always there to support us, that we can give immediate feedback if there's something that we'd like to have better, and also they are in really close contact with Japan. So if there's something, it goes to Japan and it goes back within 24 hours. So the feedback and the support at the races is important and also vital to our relationship.
Okay, so it works particularly well. Carsten, when this the concept of this group set has been developing over the last few years, and of course Sky with that 7-year relationship is integral into that process. What did you ask for when this first happened? What did you, the riders, Dave Brailsford and everyone ask for?
I think the big theme for this one was aerodynamics and integration. So, as I think you mentioned yourself, or was it Tim who said on stage before, that all the cables at the front end we would really like to get rid of, obviously from an aerodynamic point of view, but also aesthetics. I think those were the key topics from our end. the gearing that they have managed now. I think all of the teams have the issues that we, at some extreme stages, have to change the rear derailleur and all that. I think I can guarantee you our mechanics are going to be really, really happy when they see this.
That's good news. We touched on mechanics there. Everything's becoming much more electronic, Matthew. The mechanics now have to, previously would have had just their toolbox and their skills and their knowledge, and you would have tinkered with bikes and messed around with them and as a boy or riding, but mechanics now have to be so skilled, don't they? They have to have their laptop, they have to have everything else that goes with it. Do you think that makes the mechanic more skilled, or their job even more demanding now, looking after pro teams?
Yes, I think it will be more demanding, but that's the sport, how it evolves. Everything becomes more demanding. You see how high-end gearing this is. It's top level, and that means that also the mechanics and in fact the whole team has to grow with it to stay at the highest level possible.
The power meter now is part of this. Now, of course, the power meter uses the electronics, and DI2 uses electronics. Is there a way that can be combined to help you analyse riders and give you more information?
Yes, it's very interesting to have the file of the power output of the riders combined with the gear. And if you have the possibility to display these two parameters, okay, on the box, and to download the file, and after to analyze for the coaches, or also analyze for the riders on the works between riders, coaches, and it's very interesting to improve performance on the process of the training, and so very interesting.
Great, thank you very much. Henny, I'm going to go alongside them now where they've asked for aerodynamics and everything else they've asked for. How excited are you about the launch of this new group set and delivering it to the pro teams?
Well, yeah, of course, obviously this is really the best, and always, every year, every time I say it, I've done, let's say, five new product launches. Every time you say this is the best. But you were talking about the power meter. When we first time started to think about having a power meter inside our group set was 10 years ago when we started this and it was a dreaming story. So now seeing this really happening here, it's fantastic. It's a fantastic feeling, and I see already, and of course we were in Japan in December with these guys. And you saw them, the twinkles in their eyes, like, okay, now it's finally going to happen, and when can we have it? So this is fantastic.
Great, thank you very much, Henny. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to have another question and answer session in a moment, but Austin, Matthew and Fred, thank you.
When we design Dura-Ace, we look at it as a total system. We don't look at it as individual pieces. When you design as a system, everything works that much better. We are currently in the Alps on the Stelvio, almost 2,700 meters. One of the hardest climbs in the world, I guess. At the moment, we are testing the new Dura-Ace group set and the disc brakes from Shimano. Okay, let's go! The biggest advantage of disc brakes is braking power, especially in wet conditions. The disc brakes are very reliable compared to the normal rim brakes that everybody's used to. And I've been testing them now, and it's incredible. That was fun. I definitely think that the disc brakes is the next step in braking.
We are in Miraflores de la Sierra in Spain, outside of Madrid, and we're doing our final testing for Dura-Ace.
So when we enter the testing phase with the prototypes, we'll test them multiple times. So we did our first tests in Japan.
with the first kind of roughest prototypes. We evaluate those, and then we get to more final design, and then we take it out into the field. So we went to Italy, did our first big test, and then we're now here in Spain, hopefully finishing up with our final test. And then after this point, we'll move on to final production.
Global product teams, and yeah, we are collecting the related information for road racers, and for example that we are work with pro cyclings, and but also at the side that yeah, we work with bike manufacturers.
How long's the development process? So when you first start to get these ideas together to bring this group set out?
Yeah. Now, just we launched the new juries right now, but yeah, for me, this is our last step. So already that in Japan, we're already start to work for the next project for future.
So you're already getting pushed by the pro teams, and you're already thinking, yeah. Okay, that's good. That's what we like to hear.
Development process, and but one of my favorites was. After we sat down, had our initial kind of concept meetings with all the engineers, the designers, we came back a few months later and they showed us some of their first ideas. And we met the designer, the engineer that built the new mechanical front derailleur. And we looked at it and we said, oh, that's an amazing design. I said, but what if you could put, you know, an inline cable adjuster on the front derailleur? I said, that would make it so cool. Mechanics around the world would love you. And he went, okay. Came back a few months later and there it was. And he was so excited to show us, you know, and just to see, that's kind of a classic example of kind of how the team comes together and how the process evolves. And you see the original ideas that we come to these meetings with, and then finally how they come to fruition.
It's fascinating to see the way that you guys work. You here representing that wider team, the way this all comes together and pushes on, and we end up where we are today. It's for me, it's been fascinating to see over the last couple of days. Tim, I want to know why all the major players in the market are pushing forward electronics all the time, but yet you still reveal today electronics sitting alongside mechanical. Why would you carry on doing that at this level of a group set?
We do, because to tell you an inside story, as Dave already touched upon, our development teams are so dedicated that they challenge each other. So we have a mechanical team for the shifting interface and a DI2 team, and they challenge each other. And great stuff comes out of that. And as long as they can challenge each other and bring forth mechanical shifting products that are up to the promise of Dura-Ace in this total concept, we continue to serve that to the market, because there's still need for different applications for these kind of products. And as I said, as long as it lives up to the brand name Dura-Ace, and we have these great new ideas of mechanical engineering, because that's basically our DNA, our heritage, that we can bring into that, we will continue to serve both markets.
Okay, so we're going to carry on seeing the mechanical and the electronics. Also, Tim, Carsten mentioned that the challenge was set about aerodynamics as an inclusive part of pushing this group set on. How does Shimano support aerodynamics, and what do you do to make sure that this is as aerodynamic as possible?
Well, I think you have introduced already the slide of 30 years ago. that we were already studying aerodynamics 30 years ago, having wind tunnels, and at that time everybody laughed at us. As also Henny touched up on that. But we continue to learn from that, and if you see the new group set, for example, we know because of the big pressure of the teams, races get won or lost by a few split seconds just due to aerodynamics can make the difference. Things like our wheels, but also the whole time trial cockpit, cleaning up the cockpit, new aero handlebars, etc. All are those small details that help every bike racer to go faster.
And one of you, which, when we talk about the power meter that Fred touched on, how difficult was it to get a power meter into this group set at the standard that you wanted it to be?
Well, Henny said it already, we have been discussing it over 10 years, we need this. And the most logical place for us is to put it in a crankset. And then you have a big challenge. It's either you have an accurate system or you have a reliable system. But bring them both into a system component was a challenge that even for us was really hard. With the newest sensors we were able to do that, and with our production technologies, so we're proud to do so, especially because I learned from Fred when he talked about it. He said a modern day racer cannot train more, he can only train more effective. And that was a learning for me that I said, yes, this proves that having it in the heart of our product, making it stable and accurate, is the way to go. So I'm proud we made it finally.
Yeah, it's a proud day for you to bring all that together. Gerardo, of course, you have to validate and you have to test the products. We saw the film there, which shows us a little insight as to how you do that. But how do you validate that what you're developing is the right thing to develop?
Yeah, it's depending on what to test we need. And yeah, we need to confirm that our products in the real race field, we test with proteins, but also we are evaluate and tuning our products. We work with Carsten. He work with us as a test riders, and we needed his experience for products.
Great. Well, Carsten, of course, Carsten's finished on the podium of classics such as Flèche Wallonne and Amstel Gold and other races, and of course has done extremely well stages of the Tour de France. To Carsten, welcome this afternoon. Great to see you here. What's it been like being the test pilot for this new R9100 group set?
Well, to be honest, it's been an honor, because I've been a professional bike rider for 16 years. And I retired 1.5 years ago, but I'm still a little bit young to do nothing, so I'm just happy to do this, and it's just the way life goes. I mean, before I turned professional, I studied mechanical engineering at university, so it's somehow it came back, and I have the opportunity to combine both, like my experience as a bike rider and with my mechanical, like the engineering background. And it's just awesome. I feel like a kid in a toy shop.
That's great stuff. Fantastic to hear. I hadn't realised that you've done mechanical engineering, so you can really give a great bit of input into what they're thinking. I've heard that most of the time it's sunshine. There's not much snow really, and you're out in great conditions. But I've heard that you've had to wear things like sensor gloves and all sorts of things to put this group set through its paces.
Yeah, we did some testing on the Stelvio in the Alps, and I think it was delayed, but 2700 meters. Cool. But it was awesome. So we were mainly testing disc brakes then, but we were also testing the new brake levers, and then the ergonomics. So there was a whole protocol. So I had to wear sensor gloves, and I had to grab the cockpit in all different positions, sitting, standing. And then on a computer they could measure where there was pressure on my hands, so they could improve the ergonomics of the levers of the total cockpit.
So that's you even go that sort of level to find out just how things perform under pressure. We talked on disc brakes there. What's your experience been of testing disc brakes? Because you've been the one basically flying down a mountain, seeing if they work, I guess.
Yeah, so I put my life in the hands of the Japanese engineers, and I'm still here, so they worked.
We've seen you frightened a couple of times.
You frightened them a couple of times, eh?
But no, it's amazing how it works. I mean, I think in dry conditions the difference is not so big between rim brakes and disc brakes, but when it's wet, one time I went with the other test rider, and with Eliza we went together downhill, down Stelvio in the pissing rain, and we were going fast. We just kept on pushing further and further and further, and you can go, like with disc brakes, you can brake so late. It's such a big difference between the disc brakes and the rim brakes, so it's definitely an improvement.
So it makes a big difference. You've already said you're like a kid in a candy shop, but overall, the group set, from what you've seen and from what you've tested, what's your overall feeling about it?
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, all the journalists tomorrow, I think they get the chance to try it out themselves, and they will feel it. It's amazing. Yeah.
Great, Harada. Your job is incredible, isn't it? Because you have a crystal ball, basically. You can sit there and you can look into the future of what a professional bike rider is going to ride, and someone like me who might go out the weekends and ride in the next 4 years. So how, for you, when you're out on a bike, what are you thinking? What's important to you when you're out there and thinking of the next thing that we're all going to be seeing in 4 years' time?
Yeah, I think that the keyword is stress-free. Also for me, I purely enjoy that riding the bike with my friend, and yeah, also that stress-free is that it is I believe that it's purely the riders can control the bike what I want.
So stress-free.
Yeah, stress-free.
Stress-free is the message. To move this group set on to get to where we are right now. Ladies and gentlemen, please thank our 4 guests who are part of the Shimano development team that have brought this group set to its presentation this afternoon. Thank you.